folks, welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Welcome, friends. Welcome to another exciting edition of Treasure Talk. I think I'm live right now, so I'm just going to ramble away. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Great internet today. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm on the road.
Yes.
Hey, I'm working on it, man. The guy's going to send me another thing, so maybe I can get enough good internet. If not, I'll just fade away, and it'll be the film.
You're not going to fade away. You're too good at what you do. But we're at the shop here today, so I got a little different background, and I got a different camera too, so people can look around. Anyway, I guess we better get started because we have some exciting guests. So I'm going to run through it real quick. All right, folks. Today's show is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we not only sell fun, but we sell adventure. And the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the guests and the members belong solely to the guests and members and not necessarily to Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, Jeff Monin, or Myers Metal Detectors. And with that, one more thing to read, that is our purpose of Treasure Talk, is to promote the hobby of metal detecting and treasure hunting and educate our members in a fun and exciting manner. And with that, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you to do any housekeeping and introduce our guests.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I like your camera, man. It's a really nice, crisp, clear picture.
Yes, it is.
And even your haircut looks better now, dude. There's that Nemo. Hey, he's right there at the shop, guys. So remember, anything you need, if Phil doesn't stock it, you probably don't need it. That's it, bottom line. So tonight we've got a great show for you. They've been on before, and y'all loved them. And I mean, what's not to love? All of us are treasure hunters at heart. We love treasure hunting, metal detecting. It's the thrill of the hunt. And every one of us knows about Mel Fisher, treasure salvers, the Atocha and the Santa Margarita. Well, these two folks right here, it's as good as it gets. I'm telling you right there. We had Kim Fisher on, but these guys here, Sid was a boat captain for Mel Fisher, and KT was a diver, and they were both kind of operations managers with treasure salvers. And they helped to discover and bring up all the goodies from the Atocha and the Santa Margarita. And you're going to see some of that stuff tonight. They're going to tell you about their experience. They're going to tell you about how you go about identifying coins, because they've got our giveaways tonight or two of their books. And I'm going to tell you what, it's two of the best reads you can ever have. And as a reference book as well. So it's going to be a really good show tonight. So I hope that you enjoy it. We got a special guest along with KT and Sid. Dinkum, the macaw, I think it is, or he's a treasure bird. Okay, so let's introduce now KT Buddy Jones and Sid Jones. And let me get them on screen here, get them out of the green room. Okay, let's see. Okay, where are they? Here's KT. And now we'll bring in Sid. There's Sid. Hey, Sid, and there's KT, and there's Dinkum.
Yeah.
How y'all tonight?
We're great. Thanks for having us.
Yep, we appreciate being on tonight with you folks.
Well, it's our pleasure. Philip, you have the con.
Yes, I do. I've got a lot of questions, but are we getting a little bit of feedback there? That's not for me, is it? I hope not. Anyway,
I don't know.
I got a new camera, so hopefully it's not for me.
That's not the cockatoo.
That's not good.
I'm making sure it's not. I'm turning my sound down a little bit. I don't think. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
It keeps
Okay.
clicking on.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
Keeps
So,
clicking on.
Is this the start?
Yeah. Okay. Let's just run with it and see what we've got.
okay, let me see here. Yeah, it sounds like it's
No, it's
taking
Sid.
care of itself.
It's Sid.
Yeah.
I'm going to
It's
try
good?
something here. See if we can improve on that. Any better?
Yep. We're good.
Okay,
Yeah, it
great.
sounds good. All right, well, let's talk about your book first, Sid. I got a picture of it there.
You
And
do.
Jeff,
July says your phone is up. Your phone volume, but this is down.
yeah, somewhere I'm getting some feedback. I hope that's not my new camera.
No, it's probably because
What? I think it might be the camera.
No, it was
it's
something live with it before. I didn't have any
It's good
trouble.
when you're mute.
no. I think it's maybe they're Sid and KT are both in the same house, too close to each other.
It just
Oh,
Not good.
all right. Are we good now?
Yeah. Let's run with it.
Okay, because I hope it's just not on my end. Um,
Excuse me.
yeah, it's kind of
Let's
fading.
just run with it and see what we got.
Okay. All right, we'll get started with some questions, folks. It looks like we've got over 1,600 members on Facebook now. So of course Jocelyn's behind me, and she is taking questions. So if you want to ask something of Sid and KT, just type it on the Facebook live stream, and Jocelyn will hand me that question. But first, I guess we want to talk about the book a little bit. When did you write that, Sid?
It's been a couple of years now, but we have actually updated it after a trip to Cuba. We went to Havana where the Atocha was actually built, and we were able to find not only where the shipyard was where the Atocha was built, where the cargo, not only for the 1622 fleet that the Atocha was part of, where that was loaded aboard the ship, but also all of the other fleets, including the 1715 and the 1733 and on. So we were able to do a lot of research while we were over there, and we added on to the book. So it's an updated version. It's called the Havana edition connection, and so that's the latest and greatest edition of the book now.
Okay. I thought it was, and Jeff said this before, it's one of the best reads in treasure hunting books. So somebody had asked me if you had somebody help you write it.
It was a long effort to put it together because we had lots of original data, had the logs, had diaries, had video logs, had all the paperwork, and had to put all that together over a period of time. So it took a long time to do the research to make sure it was done accurately. There have been a number of books and publications done about the Atocha and Margarita because they were so famous at the time of their recovery. And you'd be surprised how often there were inaccuracies in what was written about it. So I was determined to put together
July Justice
about the actual realities of working there from a diver's or an employee's perspective. And Katie and I worked real hard to make sure that all of the data that was in there was accurate, and we have all the substantive data to show, to prove that those things actually did happen and in that order.
Yeah, actually, I sort of feel when I've read the book a couple times and continue to leaf through it, I swear I can smell diesel when I'm reading it and feel the regulator in my mouth and the salt on my skin. It's very true to what happened. It really puts you in that spot. I think Sid did a great job of that. Unlike a lot of the other books that the people weren't there. It's from the diver's point of view, so you really feel like you were there and you witnessed it yourself. And we also now, since the last time we were on, have a YouTube channel called Atocha Treasure Adventures, and we've been posting all the videos that we took along the way. As it happened, finding a gold coin or finding the most recent one was finding a bronze mortar. So we're sharing some of those, as well as some of the deck life and everyday life, some of the videos that we took the last couple of years we were there. So that's another way of just sort of being part of it. And sort of having an inside view.
Yeah, so you can tell it's written from a diver's perspective, and that you were there. You can feel it in the book because it just makes the reader feel like they're there too with you. So it was very extremely well written. I have to say that.
Appreciate that.
And then you guys also published this guy right here. I don't know if I can get it in there.
Yep, you have it there. It's called Coins of the Lost Galleons.
And
And
that is
that actually came about over 30 years ago when Sid and I, back in 1986, we received our division as divers, boat captains, etc. We received a percentage of what was found. Now, some years that was zippo, nothing. And obviously 1985, there was quite a bit of treasure found. We found 500 million. So we got our division and were treated well by Mel. There was a lot of treasure, a lot of coins. We also got a huge tax bill because it was on our W-2 forms. And now we had to go out and sell the treasure to pay the taxes.
oh
And
geez.
so we went out to do that. People want to know if they loved having a piece of history, having a coin, like this, around their neck, as they call them, the Key West dog tags. But they wanted to know more about it after they bought one. And I said, well, I have some papers. I've got some information. I'll put it together. Well, one thing led to another, and the book became part of it because people wanted to, as you showed, want to know a little bit more about where the coins came from, what all those markings mean, and what's the story that they tell. And so that's how this came into being and has been out for over 30 years. People all over the Treasure Coast, jewelry stores, collectors. It's a primer. It's not the end all be all. As the guy on the commercial, the insurance commercial says, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. We found tens of thousands of coins, and Dio would have me grade coins and certificate coins. So I got to see a lot of them. And so I was able to share, like in this particular reproduction of a coin, what all those markings mean. And it's like a political statement. Because this tells all the countries and alliances that, in this case, Philip II, Philip III, or Philip IV, in this case, Philip III, had alliances with these countries. It's Aragon, Sicily, Granada, Bourbon, all of the countries of Europe, as well, in this case, as Portugal, which is the little itty bitty shield within a shield. And this denotes that this was actually an old world coin. This coin was minted in Segovia, which is where the mint mark is over on the side here. It doesn't have an S for it, but it has what looks like the aqueducts that were in Spain at the time, left over from the Romans. And so that was the symbol for that. And over on the side here is 50. This is a 50 real coin. Now, this is a reproduction of it, but it shows a perfect example of what a perfectly struck coin would look like. It has Philippus Deo Gracias III, Philip, King of the Spains, by the grace of God, and on the back, and Hispaniarum, or all of the Indies and Spain. This one is dated 1610, but it was very rare that coins were dated back then, and very rare that those dates survive, because most coins at this time period and into the 1700s, this is 1600s, were made by rolling them out like cookie dough, like grandma made cookies, and then struck with that shield you just saw, that perfect shield, and on the backside, the perfect cross of the Crusaders with the castles of Castile and the lions of Leon. And then the ass there, in the case of this particular coin, a fellow named Balsteros, would weigh the coin. If it weighed more than what was supposed to weigh, in this case for an 8 real, he would chisel off the excess. And then he would get to keep that excess. So that's where the term chiseler comes from, someone who would chisel off too much of the coin. Now, these coins would weigh about 28 grams, 27, 28 grams. They weren't exact, but what they were exact on is the quality of the silver. The silver from South America was very high quality, more than sterling, close to 98% silver and a little bit of platinum, because that's what the trace metal was up in the mountains of Potosi, Peru. And then the Mexican coins, they were very high quality as well, but they had a little trace of copper. So when you find them on the bottom, they might have a little indication of even before you clean them, of what type of coin it is. When you find a silver coin on the bottom, like this one, or like this one, they're not cookies. They're silver coins before they're cleaned, covered with calcareous incretion, fish spit, or silver sulfide. But once they're cleaned, they'll come out like beautiful silver coins. If they have a little bit of orange on them or green, they're probably Mexican coins. And even when you find them on the beach, on the east coast of Florida, and they have a little bit of green tinge to them, you probably got a Mexican coin, which are going to look a little different. They have, just like the coins of that time period, they're going to have, like they have here in the illustration, they're going to have the shield and the cross of the king at the time. A few changes would occur in the shield as their alliances change and who they married change. The Potosi coins from South America had this type of cross on them, but the Mexican coins, I get this backwards here, there we go. This way, there we go. Mexican coins had balls on the ends of the cross. And so when you see those balls, even though the shield would be similar, you see those balls, you know it's a Mexican coin. And by the time period of the 1715 fleet, that shield looked remarkably different, because Philip V, who was the reigning monarch during the sinking of the 1715 fleet, was Louis XIV's grandson. He was French. And therefore the Bourbon or the fleur-de-lis part of the shield was much bigger. So those are some of the things you're going to see differently on your coins as you find them on the beach. There's the shield of Philip V. You can see right in the center there's a big set of fleur-de-lis there, and that's because he's Philip V's grandson. And then, of course, there's different versions as time went on. Those designs changed, and eventually in the mid-1700s, they made screw press coins, meaning they no longer were chiseled, mainly because the assayers got a little too greedy, and near the mid to late 1600s, they had to recall all of the coins that had been minted in South America because the pieces of 8 turned into pieces of 6. They were that short in the silver that was contained in them. So to avoid that, they started making screw press coins, which were perfect and they were gorgeous. But I like the character and the individuality of each of these coins, because there are no two that are the same. As you can see, these two are a little bit different. And of course, the gold coins, each one is quite gorgeous. Like this is a Santa Fe de Bogota with a lovely platinum.
People want to know how they can buy one.
How they can find them or buy them?
Buy one from you.
Oh, from us? Well, they can always get in touch with us via our website, which is Atocha Treasure Adventures, and we can talk with them about what's out there, what's available, making sure that they get a real piece of history. There are a lot of replicas out there, and that doesn't mean someone's trying to cheat them, but they say authentic museum quality replicas. They'll come with a little bitty cert. The real coins have a large cert with a picture of the coin and a number and a weight and all of that. So you want to make sure that you're getting the real deal. And if people want to contact us about that, we can help them make that decision and find that perfect fit, that perfect piece of history that talks to them. Because really the coins do talk to you. You'll see a whole bunch of them and there'll be one that just jumps out at you and says, that's it, that's the one for me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm going to get started with the questions, and it sounds like we've got our sound problem figured out. But the only thing I've got some comments that Sid wasn't loud enough. So, Sid, when you're talking, just talk a little louder, and we'll be perfect. But let me go down my list here, and I guess Dale Justice is asking, what was your best find, and what was your worst? And I'll ask you both that.
Well, funny you should say that because I saw that question in the comments before we started, and I thought, boy, there isn't a bad find. Finding anything's good. But Sid reminded me that the bombs and the missiles and the mines that we found out on the Atocha site certainly did add a lot of excitement. That happened to be a bombing range in World War II, and there was live ordnance still out there that we would uncover. And I remember one time when another diver, excuse me.
We have to deal with the fire.
Holly want a cracker.
Yeah.
One time,
he just wants attention.
Give her a beer, Sid.
we were digging up and it looked like the shank of a large anchor, and it was a live missile.
Yeah, it was a 5-inch rocket from World War II.
Yeah. Still
Okay,
says
some of that stuff's got to be
I'd say that
scary.
was the worst one. The best one, of course, is the Emerald Crossing Ring. Another diver and myself found that in 1982 in the deep sand, the quicksands area. And that was pretty exciting. When we found it, it was in a silver box. If you've ever been to the museum, you'll see it there. And that's usually how lobster pots were baited, was with sardine cans. And the other diver said, oh, darn, it's a sardine can. And I shook it and went, I don't think so. I think this is something. We came up to the surface and cracked open this little silver box, and inside was a gorgeous Emerald Crossing Ring. Looked just like the day it had been packed away, almost 400 years ago, which is going to be the 400th anniversary next year of the Atocha sinking. Sid?
And how about you, Sid? And
Worst
talk a
find.
little louder, too.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear me all right now?
Perfect.
Better.
All right, great. Worst finds, like Katie said, we found a lot of modern or semi-modern types of artifacts, not associated at all with what we were looking for. We found old Volkswagens out in the middle of the ocean, bed springs. Sometimes the real frustrating stuff, you'd get a beautiful side scan sonar picture of what looked like a perfect ballast pile, and you dive on it and it was just a natural feature on the bottom. We dove on a lot of that. Another kind of strange find was in World War II, the Navy pilots were out dropping bombs on just about anything they could find out there. And we actually found the decalcified skeleton of a whale that a bomb had been dropped on, and it killed the whale. Obviously, there were pieces of shrapnel embedded in the bones and all around the skeleton in the bottom. That was kind of a weird thing to find. Favorite thing, there were a lot of really high points along the course, not only on the Atocha, the Margarita, but the 1715 fleet work that we did as well. Probably the most unexpected find for me was on a free dive. I recovered 26 pounds of gold bars and gold chains all in one shot, and that was completely unexpected. So that was a pretty good day.
Yeah, I think we got that picture of you smiling with all those gold chains, Sid.
Well, actually, yeah, the one that was a different area on a different site. That was on the Margarita, but I certainly had a big smile on my face that day when we recovered the free dive gold as well.
I would think so.
Okay. Bill Ankley is asking, how can we dive with you guys?
Well, they do offer dives, I think, still down in the Keys at Mel Fisher Sales or Mel Fisher Treasures. You can go on their website and check out. They do have had a dive program down there. Now, we haven't been working for Mel for several decades. We came up to Central Florida, and we restore and fly World War II planes like B-25s, T-6s, Mustangs. That's something that we're involved in up here. And we love history, and there's nothing like flying it to bring it to life, just like nothing like finding it on the bottom of the ocean. So we've been certainly in touch with them. We stay in touch with them, go down and be part of their various celebrations and Atocha Golden Crew reunions. But I would go to their website and see if there's a possibility. And of course, 1715 Fleet are always looking for divers for the summer. You sort of pay as you go. You're part of the crew as well as part of the investment in some cases. And you can be part of that exciting adventure for the summer on the 1715 Fleet. So 2 opportunities.
As far as our diving, we kind of took a sabbatical from diving once we left the Treasure Salvers group, and only recently we started putting our toes back on the water again. We dove down in Cuba. We were just over in Bimini a few weeks back. We've got some other great dives planned, and some of the folks from the 1715 Fleet kindly offered to have us work with them over there. So who knows? There may be opportunities in the future where we may be able to see some of your enthusiastic metal detector folks who are watching tonight. We may get a chance to dive with some of you.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people wanted to know, excuse me, Philip,
right.
what was your feeling? Because I know that, there were a lot of long days out there, motoring up and down, trying to look for stuff to find. But what was your feeling that you had when you first discovered, like to say, the main pile, and you started bringing up the treasure? What did it feel like?
Oh, there's some words we probably can't say here. It was a long slog. It was a long time to get to that point. I'd been working with Mel 4 years by that point, Sid longer. And you go, well, it's about time. It's just about time. And you were excited. That day, the main pile, another diver and myself swam up a 90-pound silver bar on sheer adrenaline, would never be able to do it again. We were all very excited at first. And then that night, because we realized that we had found it, that the thrill really is in the search. So I'll have to say the thrill is also in finding. Let's face it, guys, the thrill is in finding as well. But the thrill is in the search. And when you realize you found it, you go, well, what's next? We figured we were all going to be out of jobs. Little did we know that it was going to be years of salvaging it and doing the archaeology, sort of like the pictures that you see of Sid doing all the drawing of all the artifacts. We measured and photographed everything in situ before we brought it up. And then all that data was then transferred to a chart, which Sid would draw meticulously everything in, and all that information was pulled together, and a picture of how it sank and where the rest of the pieces were figured out from that point on. There was a lot of archaeology that went on, but initially very excited, and then you go, oh darn, I already found it. Or if it's an individual piece, you go, oh, this is really exciting. Okay, what's next? You actually get sort of greedy, and I got a feeling that might even happen on the beaches too. You find something really good, and then you go, okay, fine. What's next?
Yes, it does. It happens.
From my side of the picture, I had been prepared a little bit for the finding of the main pile of the Atocha, because I was there when we found the Santa Margarita just a couple of years earlier. And that was a hugely exciting event that, against all odds, kind of happened. And so we refocused again on the Atocha project after the salvaging the Margarita for a few years. And when we found the Atocha, it was like a margarita again, but even better. So as far as the excitement went, as Katie mentioned, we all were kind of, it's about time. She implied that we were all a little bit quiet that evening. That was absolutely true. None of the boats, there were 3 boats out on the site right over the main pile of the Atocha, and you would expect there'd be a lot of partying and people having too many beers and on, but actually it was almost dead quiet that night. Everybody got very reflective. So an unusual response, one that most people wouldn't imagine, but that's what happened.
All right. Well, I've got a couple questions here, and they're kind of both 2 different people. One from Mike Mayo. Did you get cash or coins or artifacts for your percentage? And the other one is from Bill Marsh. He's asking, did you keep many of the things that you I guess received? Many of the artifacts or coins?
Well, we did get paid. We were paid. Now, if you consider $50 or $100 a week when we first started pay, I guess yeah, we were compensated. But we did receive treasure. We received coins, silver bars, artifacts, etc. in our division, and it was for that year. Whatever happened from January 1st to December 31st, that's what happened. And if you weren't there, too bad, so sad, you weren't going to get anything. Now, the same was true for investors. We weren't investors, we were employees, hired guns, we called it. But uh, later on, we did make a better living. Of course, we lived on the boats. We were out at sea 300 days, at least a year. So uh, we, uh, we didn't have a lot of expense, but basically paid by treasure. And through the years, it's been several years since we found the Atocha. We did sell off quite a bit of the treasure. I mean, that was our pension. That's our retirement. During the years when we made, 50 or $100 a week, when we did make anything. I mean, Mel sometimes didn't pay us for 6 months at a time. So we did keep a few things. We have our Sid, here's yours. Our coins, our first coins that were first silver coin that you find, you get to keep. This was mine. Of course, that's going to be kept forever.
And there's mine.
And gold coins that found, and I got to keep. Sid got me one of the. Made sure we had one of the emerald buttons that we found. We found 67 of these total, and so a few of these things we got to keep. But we also wanted to do other things with our life, so we sold off to good homes. Matter of fact, some of the people that we've sold our treasure to, we still hear from today because they're almost like family members.
Yeah.
Could you give me the first question again? Because I didn't quite hear it.
Well, they were asking if you were paid in treasure, and did you keep much of it, or had you sold it?
Yeah, as Katie said, we were paid employees. At first, the pay was abysmal, and which we all knew when getting into it. In the later years, after all the successes that happened between the 1622 fleet and the 1715 fleet projects, we were paid a lot better. But the treasure was certainly a nice bonus thing to have. For the folks that were there during really hard years and left before the good years, well, I feel bad for them, but they should have hung in there, right?
Right. Okay, and then here's another question. Crystal Genzer asks, "What's the most historical item and the most valuable item you found?"
Well, I think I have to go back to the Emerald Cross and Ring. Certainly, that they felt that that was the bishops of the New World. It's quite large. The Emerald Cross is about so big. The emerald in the bottom of it's the size of a quarter. The ring is cut in such a way it's about 20-carat ring emerald. Your turn. 20-carat emerald, and it's cut in such a way that you can see a cross in the bottom of the stone. And it's in a silver box, and it's quite ornately designed on the top. So I think historically and monetarily or artifact-wise, I think that would be, for me, the most important one found for me. And it's pretty important as far as the collection.
Yeah, there are a lot of great gold and silver items that we could list on and on and on. Sometimes, yeah, the astrolabes. I mean, there was a lot of treasure on these wrecks. But sometimes the most precious thing to me was not always the bulk gold or silver. Sometimes it was just the way we found things. For example, we found a large silver cauldron, I guess you could call it, and it was being used as a box to move things in. Somebody's personal possessions were inside of it, and individually wrapped in kind of a brown waxy paper, much like we would use today. There were all these silver objects. There were small little aguavino pitchers made out of silver. There were silver candlesticks, all sorts of silver items that were somebody's personal things. And because of the nature of the bottom where the Atocha sank and the way that the artifacts were covered up, that brown waxy paper that had been wrapped around these artifacts while they were packed inside this cauldron was quite a bit like newspaper today when you go to move from one house to another and you wrap up stuff with newspaper and put it in a box to be moved. That's the same way they were doing it back then. And just seeing the remnants of the paper still on those artifacts was pretty impressive. You know, that was a real profound moment, seeing that it had survived.
Yeah, people, you know, we do concentrate on the treasure. There was a lot of treasure and there was a lot of silver and gold. But like Sid was saying, we found in everyday items, we found a bowl with still had the remnants of the last meal that was served on board the Atocha. Pickled fish bones are in the bottom, a pipe, a smoking pipe with the resin still inside, shoe soles. I mean, you got more of a touch of the 265 people that were on board.
Right.
And some of these personal items, not just the gold and silver, which certainly kept your attention.
Okay, now let's leave the Atocha for a little bit. I saw on Facebook you guys were, I guess, metal detecting on the beach, the 1715 fleet. How did you do?
Well, El Zippo this weekend, El Zippo, Sid calls it beach golf. I think that's a really good analogy. It's swinging a stick outside. Somebody told me I was going to spend 3 hours walking up and down a beach. I'd say, oh no, but you know, somehow looking for treasure. Every hit, at least in my mind, maybe not Sid's, in mine, every hit I go, this is it, this is the one, this is going to be the coin, I know it, and it's not. But you still look. We meet a lot of nice people. Dang, if we didn't meet a woman this weekend who said she had a friend who had been in the condo, just moved down into a condo on the beach. Her husband went out for the first time with a brand new metal detector and found a 2 escudo coin. I wanted to kill her, I decided. Couldn't believe it. I went, show us where. And of course, we followed her into all along the beach looking for the spot. But it's always that anticipation of this could be it. But Sid and I have talked about the fact that it's a lot easier to find treasure on the treasure hunting boats than it is out on the beach.
Your audience should understand that as far as beach combing, looking for treasure, we're kind of neophytes at that. We've got thousands and thousands of hours using metal detectors underwater, but very little time on the beach. And ironically, some friends of ours who were interested in our past vocation, the treasure hunting stuff, went out and got metal detectors on their own, and they were asking us questions about where to look and where to go. And we said, well, we know where the sites are. We can take you over there. And so they kind of got us back into it. So we're kind of becoming reinvigorated in that world as a hobby this time, not as a vocation. And that's okay. We're enjoying the experience.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun getting on the beach. Plus, it's good exercise, and people do hit it on the beach. We've got Jim Tippett. He's going to be they just published him in American Digger, and he had found a bunch of gold coins on the beach this past winter over
good for him.
in the Treasure Coast.
Good for him.
Yeah. A bunch of silver coins too. But it was, with that, I guess it was a nor'easter, took some sand away. And he was there at the right place at the right time.
That's the thing, the right place at the right time. A friend of mine from work, a coworker, was talking about metal detectors, and I had to mention that my past experience with them. And he said, I think I'm going to get one. So he did. He went out and bought himself a metal detector. And then one day he said, I'm thinking of going over to the East Coast somewhere. You got any suggestions? We want to go to a public beach where people might have lost jewelry. He said, I'm thinking about Vero. And so I said, well, there's a beach access near Rio Mar golf course, and there's actually a Spanish 1715 fleet shipwreck there. You might look along the beach there and see what you find. He had never heard of the 1715 fleet. He had no idea it was there. He went out on his first time and turned the detector on and moved the detector back and forth a couple times, and he got a hit, dug it up, and it was a 1715 fleet coin right out of the bat. So you never know.
They say beginner's luck is really something, and we're starting to believe that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. It is on our coast too. I've done the exact same thing. Bought a new detector, going on the beach, turned it on, moved 1 foot, and dug a gold ring. It wasn't a gold coin, but it was a gold ring.
That's still pretty
That's
impressive.
good. That's good stuff. I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's
And that
Yes,
tells you, everybody, buy a new detector from Phil. First
There
time out, hey, you're
Yep.
going to score.
He
I've
obviously has
seen
the
it
touch.
happen,
He
Jeff,
knows which
many
one will work
times,
best.
many times.
Well, Sid, what you need to do, everybody wants to know about Dinkum. Let's introduce Dinkum to everybody.
Oh, Dinkum. Dinkum is a cockatoo, a self-requested cockatoo, and yes, he did go out on the treasure hunting boats with us. Actually, he's about 33 years old now, and he did go out to sea with us. He wasn't a planned addition to our family. It was kind of one of those really bad decisions that you make. You like, I don't know. Well, anyway, but he was with us. He went out to sea on the Magruder. He's been on the 1715 fleet. He's worked on the Atocha site. I think the crew were probably not real impressed that he was out there because he can get pretty annoying with lots of noise and demanding behavior. But I was the captain of the boat, so what could they say?
Okay. So when you guys were beach hunting, what detectors were you using?
Well, we tested lots of detectors, thinking, well, things have changed since we were out on the sites, and we tested them all. We would take real treasure, yes, real treasure, and test it against cannonballs and silver coins and gold coins and musket balls and spikes and various artifacts, like a big spike like this.
For ceramic like this, which does give a hit because of the tin glaze on there. Not much of a hit, but it does give a hit.
And we decided Aquapulse. We know Aquapulse. We've spent, as Sid said, thousands of hours swinging an Aquapulse. We know what she says. We know how she talks. They are a bit different than the ones we used. They have a few more dials, settings, but
what it comes down to with any metal detector, everybody wants to know what the best detector is. The best detector, in our opinion, is the one that you understand the best, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter who makes it. If you can read what that metal detector is doing, and it's a decent detector, and there's lots of great detectors out there. We tried a number of them. We've got friends. None of our friends have, other than the ones that work out of the boats, use Aquapulses. They've got Mind Labs, they've got Garrett's, on and on. We've tried them all. They're all great detectors. It's what you are familiar with and how you are sensitive to that particular detector. That's the best one for you.
That's what I've always said. There's no perfect detector, but there's a perfect detector for you.
Exactly.
You know, with the features
That's
you
exactly
need,
right.
as long as you.
We had so many hours. The Aquapulse isn't the best beach detector. Obviously, there's probably better beach detectors, but we knew the Aquapulse is best. And so we thought we were real familiar with them and comfortable with them. So that's the way we ended up going. But there are other great detectors that we would have, if the Aquapulse wasn't an option, we would have picked one of the other many great detectors. So
we sell multi-line here. So we've got Garrett, Fisher, Mind Lab. We got
they're all great units.
most of them.
see them all out on the
macro, a lot of different detectors. So the people got a good choice here. So on the beach, you were using your Aquapulses and getting really good depth?
Pretty good, yeah. They're better in the water than on the beach, but they're good enough on the beach that we were happy because we were hoping to do some more underwater stuff. So that's our compromise. You know, all detectors are a little bit of a compromise, and so because we planned on hopefully using them underwater more than on land, we haven't yet, but.
Well, we haven't yet because you're a weenie and the water's been too cold.
Yeah, I hate getting too cold for it.
Me too. Well, now the Gulf is warm now. So I think we're almost in the 80s now in the Gulf. Somebody will probably tell me the exact temperature on the live feed.
We're going to come over and see you and see your wonderful store, and then we're going to go over to the West Coast and go and find stuff people have lost.
Yeah,
absolutely, fresh drops. But it looks like Jeff has got the scroll going through there for the prizes. So I guess he's telling me we're going to be giving away something.
Yes, indeed. We are indeed. We are giving away Sweat of the Sun, Tears of the Moon, book by Sid that Phil is holding up. Like I said, that's probably one of the best reads you will ever read. It tells you firsthand about what it's like to be a treasure hunter, and the discovery and the hard work. It's just I mean, it's a spellbinder. Once you open the cover, you got to finish it. That's all there is to it. And we're going to have two winners tonight. And the second winner is going to win a outstanding book that KT wrote. It's the Coins of the Galleons. And for a reference book, you just can't beat it. So what we're going to do is we've got the names drawn for the two people, and from YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, you can either text or messenger Phil or myself with our numbers down there when your name is called. But please put your name in the text or messenger so we know who you are. If you're a YouTube winner, then you have to text, and please use your name. Then what you will do is you will email me your information, and make sure you email it to me at treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. I will forward that to KT and Sid, and they will get your prize book out to you. So after we get done with the drawing, we had a question from YouTube about how to clean the coin. So Sid is going to tell us about that. So I've got the names drawn. You'll have 3 minutes after your name is called to get to us. So for book number 1, Sweat of the Sun, Tears of the Moon, is going to be Catherine Powell. Your name is called. You've got 3 minutes. And for book number 2, Greg Miller, you've got 3 minutes for the reference book written by KT. Now you guys need to get after it and let us know so we can get this done. And we're going to continue on, and I'll interrupt as I need to when the time is up if you don't make your 3 minutes. So Sid, let's go over how you clean some of the coins.
Well, obviously, when you're finding bulk artifacts, the way that we were finding, we would be recovering over 100,000 artifacts a year on average, which is a lot of material to have to conserve. And it wasn't just coins. There was all sorts of amazing stuff. The artifacts were photographed in situ. Once they were discovered, they were mapped in very meticulously, and they were photographed on the bottom. Once that work was done, they were brought up and put into a conservation tank, which was kind of the beginning of their conservation journey. The tank was simply a large tank filled with brackish water. We didn't want pure fresh water in it, and I'll explain why in a minute. But that they would be kept aboard ship in that tank and then eventually transferred to the artifact lab back in Key West. So some of the artifacts that we found were very unusual. This is actually a conservation lab record that I'm holding up here. And I don't know if the viewers can see it. At the top photo, you can see it kind of looks like a large nut, like a Brazil nut or whatever, that's broken in half, and it's exposed to a dark matter on the inside. That's the before picture, before it went through the processing. Here on the bottom is what actually that artifact consisted of, and it was a small cloth bag, which you can't see the cloth. And by accident, when this was recovered, it was broken into 2 pieces, but what was inside was a whole bunch of iron needles, sewing needles, that were all grouped together and put into a cloth bag. And you can even see remnants in the photograph of the cloth bag that still survived. And there they are after conservation. So you find all sorts of amazing things. And it's not just silver coins and gold coins. There's wrought iron, there's cast iron, there's copper and bronze, there's glass, there's unglazed ceramics, there's glazed ceramics. And by mentioning glazed ceramics, here's something that a lot of you treasure hunters are out there might find is old ceramic pieces of broken pottery or whatever in certain sites. The reason that we used brackish water in our first tank that was aboard the ship is because if you expose any glazed artifact like this to pure fresh water, the salt starts to leach out of this porous material in an aggressive fashion, and it will actually start to pop the glaze off. So you need to be very careful about the level of the chloride removal out of any ceramic material. So that's why we started with kind of a brackish water. A lot of the metals, like silver coins, for example, had to go through a process of reverse electrolysis. It's a little bit like plating, chrome plating, but in reverse. The artifact, in this case, a silver coin that we're talking about, is connected to a negative DC charge, very small voltage, very small amperage, maybe about 3 volts to 6 volts, and maybe a couple of amps. That's all. The positive side is actually connected to a piece of stainless steel, and both the artifact and the stainless steel are put in an electrolytic solution. An electrolyte is a liquid that will allow electricity to pass from it. And as the artifact is now getting a negative charge to it, it's repelling the chlorides that have gone into the metal, that have formed silver sulfide or silver chloride on the outside of the coin, and it very gently removes all of that. So to clean a coin at that voltage in an electrolyte bath like that, really about a week or so to remove all of the corrosion that's on it, and then you're left with the basic coin. Once the coin, and so the coins start off looking like this. This is the same kind of coin that Katie showed before. Once this is clipped to the negative cathode, and you've got the positive anode on a piece of stainless steel in that electrolytic bath, and you add the charge, that's when all of that silver sulfide that's on the outside is removed. After that, you can then go through several baths. We used a light organic acid called Ericon 721, which it does not hurt the silver at all. It removes little bits of any remaining material. And then for large bulks of coins, we actually had a tumbler, a jeweler's tumbler that the coins were put in with kind of a stainless steel shot. And all the tumbler does is it just very slightly vibrates.
But I can't hear.
Polishes the coins and makes them shiny again. And so they end up looking like this when they're all done. Oops, there we go.
Cool. Well, okay, Sid, the other people didn't get to us, so we've got 3 minutes for these guys because we're running out of time tonight. Okay, Lisa Prizgaki from YouTube, I know. You've got the Sid's book, and Dan Graham, if you are watching, you have the KT's book, so you need to get to us.
Ask him to repeat
Jeff, can you hear me now?
Yeah, what happened to you?
I have no idea. The gremlins got into cable, I guess.
At least, hey, it's not my internet this time. I'm good.
Maybe it wasn't the gremlins, maybe it was the cockatoo.
Oh, somebody got in. So you said you announced Dan Graham and who else?
Lisa Prizgaki.
Lisa Prizgaki.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. She's a YouTuber I know, so they need to text or Facebook Messenger and let us know who you are.
All right, well, I'm going to keep going on the questions here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get to hear
I got one.
Sid.
I don't know who it is.
Somebody
Dan
said,
Graham, he's here. He's got KT's book.
yeah, Dan Graham is here. You got it. Okay, Sid, I didn't hear, and Gary Gross had asked the same question. How long did it take when you were cleaning the coins, when you're doing that, the process?
The total processing time for a coin from the very beginning to the very end was probably just a little over a week. So the coins themselves clean very quickly. If you're dealing with something like cast iron, a cannonball or an iron cannon, the process can go on years and years and years because of the nature of cast iron. Now, not all iron takes that long. Wrought iron, which is a worked iron, doesn't take nearly as long as cast iron. But if you find a cannonball or an iron cannon, something that's made out of cast iron, you've got years of electrolysis and other processes that it has to go through to stabilize it. If you don't do that, all you're going to end up with ultimately is a pile of rusty dust.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you got to be very careful when they're cleaning with electrolysis.
Right, and anything with wood on it as well, you have to be very careful with how wooden art. Let's say you find a dagger or a knife or something like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be from a galleon. It could be some Civil War artifact or anything like that. If it's been in water, it doesn't matter if it's fresh water or salt water. Once the wood starts to dry out, if you allow it to dry out without any conservation, it's going to start to shrink and distort, and ultimately it will crumble as well. So there are a number of different stabilized wood. In that example, the most common method is polyethylene glycol. There's different molecular weights that they can be absorbed by the wood that supports the cellular structure. The Cubans, interestingly, when they're doing their conservation on all their artifacts, they can't afford polyethylene glycol like we can, so they use sugar. They immerse the wood in a solution of sugar, and the sugar actually goes inside the cellular walls. And as the wood starts to dry out, the sugar comes back into crystal form and supports the cellular structure. So it works really well, except that it makes a giant candy bar for any insects that you may have where it's displayed.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. A bunch of ants would be on it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, PEG, or the polyethyl glycol, be familiar to a lot of women because the face creams that we use have PEG in them. It does the same thing for skin. It helps plump up the cellular structure. So we use PEG in face cream.
Okay. Alrighty, well, let me get back to my list of questions because it looks like our time is going really quick.
Lisa texted, so we're good on the gifts.
We got the winners. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Dale Justice was asking, what was a typical dive day, your hours you were out there diving?
It was sun up to sundown, whatever that may be. Of course, the winter months, it's a little bit shorter days, but in the summer, you could be in the water by 6:30 in the morning, and you wouldn't get out till 9:30 at night, depending on the site. We made hay while the sun shined in that case. There's probably about 6 divers on the boat, so you could rotate through. And on the Atocha site, we were on 60-foot tables, so you could have, though we pushed it, 60 minutes, and then be out 2.5 hours and go back in, so you could rotate through. On a busy day, a good weather in the summer, you could be first in the morning and then have several dives during the day and be last out at night. You could probably have 5 or 6 dives in a day and be well saturated as far as your nitrogen. I know someone has asked how we determine who dives when, and we just sort of rotated through, and whoever had bottom time. And sometimes, you were out of time for the day. You weren't going to be able to be out long enough to expel all the nitrogen that you had absorbed. Between Sid and I, we have about 15,000 hours of bottom time. You put a long days, and you were out there to dive.
Absolutely.
But the diving wasn't the only aspect of the work out there. Obviously, we're aboard ship. There's tanks to pump. There's anchors to run out. There's equipment to work on or repair. There's lots and lots of things going constantly. You're never just sitting around doing nothing. So the folks working in the excavations or whatever, they're busy doing their thing. Those that were on the surface were busy doing their thing. So, and a lot of times at the end of the day, after the sun went down, we had broken equipment that had to be repaired before we could take up work the next day. So some nights went pretty long. We maybe worked till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night repairing equipment that we needed the next day to keep going. So long days.
Hey, I've got another question here. It came in on Facebook, and this has a lot to do with, I guess, the rec site being broadcast everywhere. The person, Rick Tumbleson, is asking, what's your theory on the treasure from the 1715 fleet being washed over the dunes and into the Indian River?
Well, my knowledge, and I think I can speak for KT, well, our knowledge of the 1715 fleet doesn't have the depth to it that it does the 1622 fleet, but we do know examples of ships, not necessarily 1715 fleet ships, that actually were washed over the outer barrier islands and ended up in the intercoastal waterway. So certainly that did happen. Don't know if that happened necessarily in the 1715 fleet, but it's not without precedent what he asked.
So much of the barrier island area, including the inlets, have changed drastically over the centuries. So where inlets are, openings are, where land masses is certainly different now than it was back then.
Right, it's a dynamic area, obviously, and
Right.
where the current what's called the Urca de Lima was actually an inlet right there where it sank. There's no inlet there now anymore. Of course, there's a Fort Pierce Inlet is to the south of that now. But you know, the whole topography has changed. The beach has changed. It's eroded back further. So there's lots of lots of variables. But we do know that there were ships. Has been evidence found of ships that were blown over the outer islands and in towards the intercoastal waterway. So I suppose there is a possibility of that.
Yeah, it could happen, and I'm sure people have probably found stuff there. That's why he's asking about that. Well, Jeff, it looks like we're about at that time, aren't we?
Yep, the clock on the wall says it's time to go.
Yes.
But we want to just go ahead, Philip, and do your thank yous.
Yes. I wanted to thank both you, Sid and KT, for being on the show with us, and thank my wife Jocelyn for handing me questions. Thank you, Jeff, for pulling this together. But I did want to mention that I'm going to be at the board meeting for our metal detecting club tomorrow night. So I'm going to ask them if they'll try to get you guys on the schedule, the president of the club, and hopefully you can come out to one of our meetings. It's normally on a Friday night. So,
we'd love to do that. And we've got a really interesting presentation that we do.
Okay.
Unique photographs and charts and things to help people understand the type of work that we did.
Now that COVID is behind us,
everybody's.
We're certainly look forward to meeting lots of people and sharing stories and hearing their stories, doing presentations at club meetings. Just remember, check in our website and our YouTube channel. There'll be more stuff going up there.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you both, and thank you, Jeff. And I'll let you close it out, Jeff.
All righty. And also remember that we are going to set up a day at Myers Metal Detectors in Tampa when Sid and KT will be in the house, and they will be autographing books as you purchase them, and they'll have some of their goodies to show you, and you can shake their hand and get firsthand knowledge of everything that went on with them. And then they are available for if you are a president of a Rotary club or you got involved in your metal detecting club. They love to do that kind of thing. So we want to thank them for taking time out of their busy schedule to be with us. Now, next week is going to be our friends and family show, and we're going to have some of our members on and your best detectorist friends. So we want to say thank you to everybody that entered. Sid, KT, we love you. Everybody loves you. I'm looking at the comments on YouTube. They say, bring them back, bring them back, bring them back. And we will do that. So we're going to say good night. And thanks again. And we will see everybody later.
Dig deeper, my friends. We'll see you.